Okay, business entrepreneurship students, this is now chapter 17 in our video lecture series. We'll do both 17.1 and 17.2. This video will be just about 17.1. So let's start off with the topic is managing operations and staffing. So a lot of focus will be on managing operations, the significance of that, and the purpose of policies and rules and regulations. And then we'll move to staffing and deal with the staffing process itself and then the potential need for additional policies. Okay, so let's start with understanding our objectives. It's going to be really important that, that for the operation to run smoothly, there has to be consistency in the ways things are done and how people are treated. So this is achieved by implementing policies and rules. So we're going to go through these objectives, and we're going to have, hopefully you're aware of the content vocabulary like policies and rules and credit and return policy and rework policy, but we'll go through some of that stuff. Okay, so to actually have a policy and implement a policy, there has to be an operational plan. Okay, and so implementing operational plans, first off, you have to have a goal, and the goal of first line management, which generally will be you guys in this class, is really to put operational plans into action. And as the business grows, there has to be some delegation of responsibility. And in the project that we're having, you're getting a sense of what delegating responsibility means and the challenge that does in fact entail. Okay. So one of the things that you'll have to worry about then is operating policies, rules, and regulations. Okay, so having a policy to deal with is important. It's really to look at simplifying how management will be done, making sure that's communicated and everybody understands that. So policy is kind of a statement of goals or purposes and principles that was going to serve as a guideline for the operations on a day-to-day basis. So it has to support, however, the company's goals and objectives. And if you remember when we went through those different varying action plans, long, mid, and short term, we made sure they tied together. Well, the policy statements and goals and purposes, it served as a guideline to run the company day in and day out. It's really super important. Okay, there's also going to be rules. And in contrast to a policy, a rule leaves no room for interpretation. It's like a business law. It's a standard that sets forth to guide the behavior and actions of companies, and a rule is going to tell employees exactly what they should and, quite frankly, should not be doing. So what about managing the operations itself and some of the policy statements that we're going to cover? And there's 7 of them. I'm going to go through 6 of them. Hours of operation, which I think is fairly self-explanatory in terms of rules and policies. What's the hours that we work? I'll go through credit, return and rework, delivery, customer service, and employee safety. So first off, what's credit? Okay, so credit policies. The businesses that offer credit certainly are focused on encouraging sales, but we also have to know that if you offer credit to someone, that's going to tie up your money. And we have accounts receivable. And if you offer a situation where a product is basically allowed to be shipped, but payment is going to come at some point later, you're going to have an accounts receivable. So you have that. You just have to know to manage it. So credit's sort of this arrangement for deferred payment for goods and services, and it does allow your business to obtain products in exchange for a promise to pay you later. Okay, what about credit policies? It's really going to be 4 major credit plans or policies. There's bank credit, there's charge accounts, there's installment plans, and financing. Okay, and so bank credit, obviously, and having a line of credit at a bank, you have a relationship with a creditor of the bank, and there'll be some amount of money that they'll allow you to ultimately borrow. And seen some of the video case studies that we've done where there has been a bank credit that's sort of almost been tapped out in a couple of cases. There's charge accounts. We all know that with you could get a credit card account. Installment plans, I'm not sure if anybody's aware of why they work, but effectively you pay off what your your dues in these installments that everybody agrees to, and then finally just basic financing. You can allow someone to do finance, and you can act as the bank. Well, to be able to do this well, what any good creditor looks at are what's called the 3 C's of credit. So businesses that extend consumer credit use these to really determine and qualify the credit worthiness of customers. So, so for instance, the character. Okay, a person's reputation for honest dealings, and this obviously matters when you're talking about lending someone money or giving them your product in hopes that basically they will pay you back. So credit bureaus, by the way, give higher credit ratings to people who have good character. This is something really fundamental, and so you would look at character as one of the keys to determine whether you're going to extend some credit. What about capacity? What's capacity? That basically means, in a simplified way, it's the borrower's ability to actually repay the debt. And so if you're going to lend somebody money, or if a bank lends you money, they're going to look at your capacity to repay. So you may need to document your, for instance, stated income, or if this is a business, do they have a track record of success with other businesses? Are there any sort of references that they could use? What about the business itself and the banking relationship it has? So does it have sort of the capacity or the ability to pay things off, and do they have a great track record? And then finally, capital. Okay, what backing do they have? What assets does the individual or business have to actually suggest that if they don't pay you, that there's some credit there, there's some collateral, so to speak. So you may likely extend credit to businesses or individuals if you know they have some substantial capital that you can collateralize to make sure that what you're doing is a little proper. Okay, so that's sort of the C's, and that's some of the credit stuff. But what about if we now have an issue of returns or rework? And that's something that, in terms of operations, if you have a business where people need to be able to try something on, or they buy something, they have 30 days. You see this on TV a lot. You certainly see this at stores. What's your return or rework policy? Okay, and so if you look at things like return, well, that should be fairly straightforward. It establishes the conditions under which your products or services, if ordered or shipped, how they're going to be delivered, returned, and handled. Okay, now rework may be a little different. I'm not sure you're so familiar with that, but it really establishes conditions with the relationship you have about something that's going to get fixed, something, again, because it was not done right the first time, that we would commit to doing something in a rework fashion. Okay, now that is sort of like a little policy or quality guarantee, but it is something that allows a lot of your clients to feel a little bit better. Okay, so that's rework and return. What about delivery? Okay, and part of this is really key, and really basic stuff, and I could just read this for you, but it's whether or not to deliver is another part of your place strategy. Okay, you need to be able to effectively say if this is something that you're committed to doing, and it's one of the more simpler policies to deal with. All right, and then finally, we'll deal with customer service, and customer service is a super important one. And here's all of the sort of the 4 sub-bullets that you'll read in the book to really deal with how you handle customer service issues, whether that's a complaint, how long it takes you to get back to a customer, what's your overall legal strategy, which is your warranty, if you have a physical place, how does it feel when they walk in? Can they use a restroom? Some places say, hey, customer only, using restrooms, right? How do you train your people to be nice to people? Okay, those kinds of things. So this is sort of policies that you can create. Some of these may turn into rules, but really you have to take 2 basic precautions. Number 1, you have to reduce liability, ensure the safety of your customers' employees. So this is really important. If you look at the umbrella of customer service policies when it deals with liability of your customers and employees, and liability and safety of those 2, you really need to train your employees in safety and emergency procedures, including things like what we do at school when we have fire drills. It's really that important. And then reinforce them. Okay, reinforce them with drills and training and signs. If you ever go to a restaurant, it should say in the bathroom, employees, you have to wash your hands after you use the bathroom. It's just sanitary. It's important. It's a part of customer service. Okay, so in summary then, there's really 2 things that we're worried about here. The significance of the operational plans they're really important. They govern the day-to-day business operations. Operational plans allow for a business to effectively run smoothly. What about policies and regulations? In general, policies are statements about how you intend to run the business. They eliminate the need to make some decisions repeatedly because it's a policy, And rules and regulations are standards set to guide behavior. Guide behavior of your employees and guide behavior of customers. They certainly let employees and customers know exactly what they should and should not do. Okay, that's 17.1, and let's move on to 17.2.